In the mid-19th century, cotton was the leading export in the United States. Most was shipped to New England and England. The average cotton picker could remove the seeds from only about 1 pound of short staple cotton per day. The demand for cotton was fueled by other inventions of the Industrial Revolution, such as the machines to spin and weave cotton and the steamboat to transport it. Plantation owners needed a way to make cotton planting profitable because tobacco was declining in profit due to oversupply and soil exhaustion. The small farmer was losing all hope. Until this man changed the cotton process forever. Eli Whitney. He invented the cotton gin in 1794. This machine revolutionized the production of cotton by greatly speeding up the process of removing seeds from cotton fiber. Cotton was run through a wooden drum embedded with a series of hooks that caught the fibers and dragged them through a mesh. The mesh was too fine to let the seeds through, but the hooks pulled the cotton fibers through with ease. The small farmer could now process so much more cotton than he ever could before. The cotton gin made cotton processing less labor intensive, and it helped the farmer earn greater profits, prompting him to grow larger crops, which in turn required more people, so he had to hire more slaves. Slavery was strengthened in the South. The cotton gin also benefited the small farmers' friends in the North, as they now had a steady supply of raw materials for their New England textile mills and a lot of raw cotton to export by New England merchants. The small farmer was no longer a small farmer. He was now a big plantation owner with 75 slaves and a much more respectable status in the South. He was a happy farmer. Let's take a look into the year 1761. We are here with James Brindley today.
Pleased to meet you. I'm James Brindley. We just finished the first canal.
So why did you need to build a canal?
Canals were needed to transport the huge amounts of heavy produce made during the Industrial Revolution. In need of his coal getting to the markets in Manchester, the Duke of Bridgewater assigned me as an engineer to build a canal.
How did you build it?
Of course, canals are man-made rivers that are deep enough for barges to move through. These barges can move nearly 40 tons of weight, much too heavy for roads to support. To waterproof the canals, I lined the sides and bottom of the canal with clay mixed with water. This process is called puddling. I like to call myself a psychic because I knew as a result of this, the price of coal in Manchester will drop by 50%, making more people want to buy it.
You are amazing. Thanks for meeting with us. Now let's talk to Benjamin Wright, the principal engineer of the Erie Canal.
Hello! It's 1825 here, and we just finished building the 363-mile-long Erie Canal. This canal is included in a chain of waterways connecting New York City to the Great Lakes and the Northwest.
So, what did this canal do, or what purpose did it serve?
The Erie Canal will carry goods and people for a low cost. It will also encourage 3,000 more miles of canals to be built by 1840. Like James Brindley, canals tell the future. These canals will be built mostly in the eastern and midwestern states. The Erie Canal will eventually make New York City the economic capital of the U.S. because of the consistent flow of commerce from the Midwest to the coast. However, thousands upon thousands labored to build the canals. Those literally in the trenches faced extremely dangerous conditions for little pay. The workers lived on the edge of subsistence financially, and physically, canal work was backbreaking, dangerous, and at certain times fraught with the near certainty of cholera and malaria, which killed a sizable portion of the workforce. Immigrants from Ireland and Germany supplied most of the workforce.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you, James Brindley, for also being with us today. Mr. Bartlett, why were railroads important? Aren't they just like things trains go over?
What's that noise? I'm not mad. This is just the face my father gave me. But I will tell you because it's important that you know why the British improvement was so significant. A man named George Stephenson created the world's first successful locomotive, and which the US purchased from the Stephenson Works in England. Although both canals and railroads transported goods, people, and ideas more predictably, rapidly, and cheaply, railroads were not freeze and could be built almost anywhere. Railroads could also operate year-round, giving merchants and manufacturers an inexpensive and reliable access to distant markets and goods. This spurred production, recognized specialization, and helped expand the limits of farmers. Let's talk to our farmer Earl, who came all the way from America to tell you about how railroads impacted his life. Railroads are better than the invention of sliced bread. As a farmer, I could plant more specialized crops like grain in the Old Northwest. Farmers in New England were able to focus on dairy goods and produce.
By 1860, me and my other American farmer friends were able to produce 4 to 5 times as much wheat, corn, cattle, and hogs as in 1810. Because transportation had become so easy, American workers had cheap, plentiful food, and we had more money to spend on new consumer goods.
Thanks, Earl. Now do you see why railroads are so important? Say yes or I'll have to hit Tyler.
Okay, thanks. We got it. When George Washington dies in December 1799 in Alexandria, Virginia, it takes 5 days for word to reach Philadelphia, and it takes over 3 weeks for word to reach Lexington, Kentucky.
We are much too separated. We must develop our systems of transportation and solidify ourselves as a nation of unity.
American economic growth links itself to events elsewhere in the world, particularly in Great Britain.
We must capitalize on Great Britain's industry.
The U.S. attaches itself to the Industrial Revolution. The improvement of the steam engine led to railroads and steamboats revolutionizing transportation. Steam-powered machinery transforms cloth production, moving the industry from small-scale production to large factories. Use of machinery allows the U.S. to have the production of more and cheaper textiles, which becomes a prime market for American cotton. Between 1820 and 1860, the American economy enters a new and more complex phase as it shifted from reliance on agriculture as the major source of growth toward an industrial and technological future. Entrepreneurs received corporate charters from the state legislature for turnpike, steamboat, and railroad enterprises, as well as textile factories and mechanics association.
Full steam ahead!
Given the difficulties of overland routes, Americans traveled by water whenever possible. The first steam engine boats appeared along the Atlantic coast and began to ply the waters of the Ohio-Mississippi rivers. In 1807, Robert Fulton launched his 160-ton side wheel at Claremont, demonstrating the feasibility of steam travel. For the first time, production of goods proceeded at a faster pace than the growth of population. Real per capita outgrew an average of 2% annually between 1820 and 1840. This suggests that many Americans were enjoying a rising standard of living. Because regional economies were tending to become increasingly linked, problems in one area tended to affect conditions in the other, for example, slavery. The British demand for cotton cemented the South's attachment to slavery in the U.S. Increase in ease of travel led to significant breakthroughs in communication. By 1830, the number of newspapers had increased to over 1,000, about one-third of them daily. The demand for newspapers was spurred by the rising literacy rates, mostly among women and low-class men. The demand for information was generated by a nation's expanding market economy and democratic belief in the importance of being informed. Improvements in travel and communication strengthened American nationalism and tied Americans together in networks of shared identity. Steam-powered transformed life in America. See The Amazing Story of a Nation Transformed, all in theaters November 15th.